Hey there guys, another year's over, and before I show you my beauty favorites of the year, I thought we'd do a video all about my reading. So I'm gonna wrap up my 2017 reading, and we're gonna start out with some numbers, and then I'm going to show you all the books that I've read this year. So first of all, I have read and finished 89 books this year, which is probably the most I've ever done. Not quite sure. I think it is the most I've ever done. And part of the reason for that is that I started listening to audiobooks and I'm commuting, so I have a lot of time to read and to listen to audiobooks, and I have a hair. Oh, cat hair on my nose. And then the other half of the explanation is that I have just been reading more YA, more books that are quick to get through, just because work has been a little bit stressful most of the time, so that were the books I just gravitated towards. So yeah, 89 books this year. The month, and part of the reason also is that I participated in Booktubeathon in July. And so July was the month that I've read the most pages, which was no, it's not true, but it had the week where I read the most pages, which was 1,692 pages in just 1 week, and that was for Booktubeathon. And then the month I've read the most was March, with 3,563 pages, because I actually was unemployed in March. My position ended in February, and then I had a new position starting April, so March was pretty much free time for me, which was great. And then the month I've read the least amount of pages was May, and I read 1,272 pages in May. And I have no clue what happened in May, but must have been something. And then overall I've read 25,119 pages this year, which is a pretty big number, and it means that I've read about 68 pages a day, which I wanted to read around 50 pages a day, so I did pretty well with that. I'm super stoked with that, and that is not including audiobooks, so that's just the physical books that I've read. Now for audiobooks, overall I listened to 141 hours of audiobooks this year, which is pretty amazing. I started listening to audiobooks in February, and so yeah, it's a very impressive number for me at least. I'm pretty sure my boyfriend would have a much higher number because he listens to audiobooks a lot. But for me, that's quite a big number. February was the month where I listened to most hours or most minutes of audiobooks. I listened to 1,375 minutes of audiobook, and that was because I had a lot of job interviews in February, obviously because my position was ending and I had to find a new job, and I was traveling all over Germany, and so yeah, that's where that number comes from. And then I think the month that I've listened to the least amount of minutes, it is November actually. I only listened to 435 minutes of audiobooks in November, and there's not really a reason for that, I would say. So that being said, now let me show you all the books I've read this year. Now my first stack of books is going to be books that I've started but not finished this year, and I will go through them and I will finish all of these eventually. The first one is My True Love Gave to Me. I read the first 2 stories in this, but then it was Christmas and it was all rushed, and I decided to just keep this for next year. Then Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls is one that I'm taking my time with because I want to enjoy it. Currently, I am on page 44 with Cora Carolina. In October, I started Penny Dreadful Sensational Tales of Terror, which is also a short story collection with Penny Dreadfuls, and I am currently on page 334, and I'm keeping the rest of this for next year's October. Another short story collection, Spirits of Christmas, 20 Otherworldly Tales. And I'm currently on page, I think 180 something. And again, it was Christmas. I was not able to finish this, so I will keep on reading that next year. And I got this from the library, so I hope it will be there still next year. The one I'm currently reading is Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor. And I am currently on page 510, so I hope I can finish this soon because I have to give it back to the library. And Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets Illustrated Edition, for some reason I just can't get through this book. Because, yeah, there's spiders and snakes in this book, not snakes, snails. It's very hard for me. So I'm currently on page 188. And I think I will get the third one for my birthday. So before that, I need to finish this book. Let's start off with the worst books I've read this year. I don't own a lot of them. Actually, 3 of the 4 were from the library, so I don't have them here. Maybe I'll manage to insert a picture, but I'm not quite sure whether I can actually do that. I'm not good with editing. So, my worst book of 2017 is a German book called Hinter den Spiegeln by Ulrike Schweig. Now the others are out of order. Through the Woods by Emily Carroll, Days of Blood and Starlight by Laini Taylor, and Straight Right Mail by John Niven. Now moving on to 3-star books in the order that I've read them in. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, the German audiobook. I did not like that version. Scarlet by Marissa Meyer. German book called Säkulum by Ursula Poznanski. Fairest by Marissa Meyer. 100 Shadows by Huang Yungyoi. Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. Stay Out of the Basement by R.L. Stein. Nerve by Jean Ryan. Ice by Domenico Starnone. A Feast of Crows by George R.R. Martin. Revive by Kat Patrick. German book called Marlene by Hanni Münzer. A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavallaro. A Silent Voice number 2, which is a manga series. German short story collection called Tatzen im Schnee with Christmas stories. And then another German short story collection called Stille Nacht und Feuerwerk, which is all about the time between Christmas and New Year's. Now moving right along with the books that got 3.5 stars, so these were better than average for me. The Vegetarian by Han Kang. The Door in the Mountain by Caitlin Sweet. This is the first book in a series. Cinder by Marissa Meyer, also first book in a series. Ancillary Justice by Anne Leckie, also first book in a series. A German book called Der Fälscher, die Spionin und der Bombenbauer by Alex Campus. The Girls of Riyadh by Raja Al-Sanea. Lament by Maggie Stiefvater, also a first book in a series, but I'm not going to continue with this. German book called Die Katzen von Montmartre by Tessa Korber. This little manga called The Little Cat Chi by Konami Kanata. Tipping the Velvet by Sarah Waters. Charlie Bone Book 1 and 2 by Jenny Nemo. A Silent Voice Part 1, which is a manga. Shatter Me and Unravel Me by Tahara Mafi. Monster Blood and The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb by R.L. Stein. The Unburied by Charles Palliser. Silent Voice Part 3. All I Want for Christmas by Amy Silver. And The Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. First book in a series. Okay, now we're on to the 4-star books. So these were books that I would recommend and enjoyed very much. The Flame in the Maze by Caitlin Sweet, book 2 and conclusion of the series. Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Page, book 1 in the series. The Zookeeper's Wife by Diane Ackerman. Sufficient Grace by Amy Espeseth. Every Day by David Levithan. The Wicked Will Rise by Danielle Page. The Circle by Dave Eggers. Homegoing by Ya Gyazi. Yellow Brick War by Danielle Page, book 3 in the series. And The End of Oz by Danielle Page, book 4 and conclusion of the series. Cress by Marissa Meyer and Winter by Marissa Meyer. Disgrace by Jussi Adler Olsen. Starshot by Mary Ann Constantine. Wreath on the Dawn and The Rose and the Dagger by Renee Adier. Ignite Me by Tahera Mafi, book 3 and the conclusion so far of the series. A Case of Exploding Mangoes by Mohammed Hanif. 1001 Night by a translator who translated it into German. Was very, very beautiful. The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Abertali. Slasher Girls and Monster Boys, story selected by April Genevieve Tucholke. Library of Souls by Ransom Riggs. This is book 3 and the conclusion of the series. Hunger Games and Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. This was a reread. The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which is one of the Penny Dreadfuls. Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater, which is book 2 in the series. A Silent Voice, Part 4, and a German collection called Wahre Geschichten Weihnachtliches in Sachsen, which is non-fiction about Christmas in the part of Germany where I come from. Now, 4.5 stars. So these books I think you should consider, at least in my opinion. Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Little Nothing by Marisa Silver. The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, part 1 in the duology. Monstrous, The Awakening, I have part 2 here, by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo, part 2 of the series and the conclusion of the series. Ramona Blue by Julie Murphy. Death du Jour by Katie Reichs. The Body Book by Cameron Diaz. Rover Random by J.R.R. Tolkien. The Raven Boys, part 1 of the series by Maggie Stiefvater. The Ghost Next Door by R.L. Stine. Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. Also reread. The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. And a German collection about a German poet and writer, which is called Weihnachten mit Sturm, about Theodor Storm. Okay, and now we come to my best books of 2017. And this is actually a little bit sad, but usually I don't have a lot of 5 stars because 5 stars means must read for me, and I don't find a lot of these. So I only have 3 here, and I will rank them for you. Coming in, number 3. The Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. This series means so much to me, more than you could ever imagine. And this was a reread, so that's the reason why it's just on the 3rd place. Coming in at number 2 is The Sea of Tranquility by Katja Millet. Now this was very hyped up a while ago, but now people don't talk about it anymore. And I loved it. The romance was so good. It's just my kind of dark romance. I loved it. And now my number 1 book of this year was A Thousand Splendid Suns, which is a tongue twister, by Khaled Hosseini. Now this book was brutal, but it was beautiful and it was important. And that's the reason why, for me personally, this was the best book I've read in that year. Lucky you, we're done here. I think this video is hours long and I'm sorry for that, but I hope it was enjoyable. If you have any question about any of these books, feel free to ask in the comments. If you enjoy these kind of things, then leave a like. And if you subscribe, I will talk to you soon. And if you're only here for the book videos, you will probably see January wrap up soon. Bye!